I was standing at the school gate, shifting my weight from one foot to the other. I'd run out of class with the last bell, so this time there was no way I'd miss Katya. I never found the appropriate words to start the conversation. Not that it really mattered. After all, the topic remained the same. Students were passing by, paying no attention to me. Alone, in couples, even in groups. Frowning, laughing, and chatting with each other, staring at their feet, noticing no one, angry and seemingly upset with someone, and with welcoming smiles on their beautiful faces. Why is it that if you're rich, you're necessarily also handsome to boot? Except for Kyosuke and me, that seemed to be the case for the majority of students in our school. As if there was an invisible slot machine, only equipping the chosen few, dealing out advantage after advantage. And when it was then the turn of simpler people, you'd be lucky to at least get away with good health. Well, I had. At least physically. Nico-kun. There was Himitsu. I should have realized that her classes were over too. Nico-kun, are you waiting for someone? Yeah. No. Well, My determination seemed to have vanished at once. In front of Himitsu, I felt like some idiot telling his mother he wasn't going to go into university because his dream was to flip penguins at the South Pole. Not gonna lie, pretty tight dream, my guy. His mind was made, but Mom was sure to be upset. No worries. If I'm interrupting something, then... You're not interrupting anything. Here you are. As if Himitsu wasn't enough, Kagome was approaching me determinedly. We need to talk. Yomura-senpai. Oh, seems like I've interrupted something. I won't keep him busy for long, she told Himitsu. Himitsu in turn gave me a questioning look. A minute ago I was about to start sorting out my relationship with Catherine. 30 seconds ago I was trying to figure out how not to upset Himitsu while doing that. Now I was taken aback by Kagome's assault. You know, not everything in the world revolves around you and your problems. Not everyone just waits for you to pay attention to them, ready to drop everything and run after you as soon as you call them. My voice didn't sound very confident. So what are you so busy with that's more important than this? Then she also grew embarrassed, casting a quick glance at Himitsu. Of course, Kagome was right in her own way. I was just afraid to hurt someone, trying to have my foot in the two worlds at the same time. Or maybe even 3 or 4. I had to make a choice. Obviously not everything in my life revolved around Himitsu, and all my thoughts were about Catherine. However, before moving forward, one has to understand what they'll have to leave behind. I didn't know what Kagome had come up with this time, and I wasn't in the mood to try and guess. Nevertheless, her unshakable confidence in herself and her own righteousness were somewhat spellbinding. Sorry, I timidly said to Himitsu. I'll wait for you at home. She replied after a moment and walked away, leaving us alone. Are you happy now? Asked Kagome, irritated. I didn't force you. She huffed in response. So what do you want to talk about? Not here. Where then? I was impotently, there we go, walking after Kagome, not a thought in my head, like a sheep following a shepherd's dog. Okay. I dig the background. I'm digging the music. Just waiting for... Where's the drop? Oh, it's gonna slowly build up. Okay. I'll just wait. After some time, we found ourselves in the park. That very park so many memories of mine were tied to. Catherine and I used to come here often. She always told me she enjoyed the silence and the opportunity to be alone. Meanwhile, it seemed to me sometimes that she was just embarrassed to be in public together. Anyway, I hadn't talked to Catherine today. It was Iwamura's fault. Good. Iwamura fucking kicks ass. I finally raised my eyes and looked at her back. Isn't this enough? What's enough? She slowed her pace and turned around. We're far enough from the school. Now there's a spy with a camera hiding behind every bush. Don't you just love you and your sarcasm? We stopped on a little curved bridge built over a small spring that met a lake. Kagome leaned on the railing and stared at the water. I didn't know there was a park here. So you were just walking randomly? Yeah. I love her. She gave me a cute and somewhat childish smile. The first yellow leaves were reluctantly falling off the trees. One of them, however, deftly glided down onto Kagome's head and got stuck in her hair. She didn't notice. I look like a sensible person sometimes, but that's only a front, isn't it? What do you mean? Never mind. What do you want to talk about? I think we have no other choice but to pressure Kobayashi's granddaughter. She really emphasized that we. But, wait, let me finish. Kagome raised her hand sternly. I know what you want to say, but she knows nothing and I'm only making the situation worse. Look at this from a different angle. Even if her grandfather finds out that we've set our sights on her, what's wrong with that? There's so much wrong with that, I don't even know where to begin. We have to shatter their delusions of omnipotence. That's the only way we'll achieve anything. I couldn't figure out if she was serious or not. And of course, there was no reason to suspect Kagome of being delusionally maniacal, but then what was this? Youthful exuberance? Shatter? Delusions of omnipotence? Are you listening to yourself? All I can imagine is that guy from Kobayashi Jun's office shattering my face. You're just scared. Yes, I am. Aren't you? She suddenly frowned as if I had said something very offensive. I don't let fear control my life. Then you're just being reckless, albeit consciously. So are you going to help me or not? What am I even supposed to do? First, talk to that. Kagome clearly had problems with calling people by their names. Ellie, I prompted. Yes, to that Ellie. It's clear that she won't listen to me, but you're quite her type. She smirked sarcastically. What are you implying? Just feminine intuition. Somehow I didn't want to pry into what that intuition was telling her. Why do you think things will go differently this time? As I see it, Ellie clearly lets us know that she can't help. But she hasn't even tried. At least ask her. I don't know, to do something? To talk to her grandfather or anyone who has real power? And why would she listen to me? Convince her. How? I don't know. How? Come up with something. She got angry and stomped her foot. The school of fish swimming by us immediately dashed away. For whatever reason, you overestimate my persuasiveness. Or you underestimate the impression you've made on her. When have I ever... On the other hand, Kagome was a girl too, despite how she acted. So maybe she had a better feel for this stuff. And if she was saying that, I suddenly felt blood surging to my face and turned away. You don't understand what you're asking. Why? If things go well enough, you might end up the son-in-law of the richest man in Japan. I'm going through a rough patch right now, and I've been planning on starting a new relationship, even if just for purely selfish reasons. I don't understand, guys. Don't you like her? I do, but I mean, being attracted to someone's appearance isn't all there is to it. Look at this tender soul. Imagine that. I started to feel uncomfortable in the presence of this persistent girl. What if Kobayashi Jun had a grandson, huh? Then what? As far as I know, homosexuality isn't a crime in Japan. Stop joking around. Would you go down on that hypothetical grandson if you needed to? Kagome tried to hold my angry look, but buckled and lowered her head. I don't see the point in talking about things that don't exist. How convenient. Is that a no? I'll talk to her, but I'm not promising anything else. That seemed like the only way to stop this idiotic conversation. And from now on, please stop with these dumb ideas. Cheers! I basically ran away from Kagome, feeling on the one hand extremely offended, and on the other inexplicably ashamed, as if my parents had caught me masturbating. Maybe in another situation I'd even feel good about the idea that I might end up in a relationship with Kobayashi Ellie. Yeah, maybe in another time. Possibly. But not now, when I was in real danger, and Catherine had returned to Japan. I was slowly walking home, purposely choosing the longest route. Home, with Himitsu ready to interrogate me. Home, with the old life that Ellie and Kagome were so desperately trying to turn on its head. I didn't know if this was what Kagome was trying to achieve, but the very thought that things could be different, that not everything had to be tied to Himitsu or Catherine, was stuck firmly in my mind. Naturally, the lights were on. What else could I expect? I tried to open the door as quietly as possible, take off my shoes, and sneak into the kitchen. I always wonder what Himitsu did alone. It seemed like, without me, she was in some kind of superposition. We had seen each other that afternoon at the school gate when Kagome took me away, and now it was evening and I was home. Did anything exist between those 2 points in space and time? Did Himitsu? Nico-kun, why are you creeping around? Well, then, today was not the day I would find out. I wanted to surprise you. Thanks, you already did this afternoon. Himitsu replied in a tone that made it clear she was upset. Do you want to talk about it? I sat down next to her, and was surprised to notice that the table was empty and the stove was cold, and all the pots and pans were in their places. I don't know. Should we? If you think we should. Nico-kun, I can see something's happened. That senpai came over to your place on Saturday, and today you two just went out somewhere in the middle of the day. In In the middle of the day? I grumbled. You're saying that like we're in some sort of conspiracy. I don't know, Nico-kun. What were you talking about with Iyomoto-senpai today? It looked like she had something important to discuss with you. Something important? Kagome? I smirked, but immediately caught myself. Sure, Himitsu knew that I wasn't a big fan of Japanese formalities, but some degree of overfamiliarity, forgivable under different circumstances, towards a girl could really backfire on me. However, she didn't seem to notice. Or at least pretended to. I mean, that's just something about school? Himitsu would never believe that. You're hiding something from me. Something happened in the past few days, but you don't want to tell me. What could possibly have happened in my life? Although that wasn't true, even from her point of view. Catherine's return alone was enough. That's what I want you to tell me. She suddenly raised her voice. Sure, I didn't want to drag Himitsu into my problems. I was afraid she'd end up in danger too. But it was getting more and more difficult to lie and come up with excuses under her intense glare. There's nothing between us, if that's what you mean. That's not what I mean. I understand that Kari-chan is the only thing you could think about right now. I haven't thought about her in ages. Catherine? No. I mean, yes. I mean, of course I think about her. How can't I? Who would in my place? He's like, what? No, I don't think about Catherine. I mean, yes. No, that's what you want to hear. Yeah, that's all that's on my mind, girl. Maybe it really would be easier this way. And you ask Iwamoto-senpai for help, the same way you helped her that time. Even if that was the case, I wouldn't compare the two situations. I had no idea how Kagome would have been able to help me with Catherine, but since Himitsu came to this conclusion herself, it would be a bad tactic to convince her of anything else. Guilty as charged, sorry. See, Nico-kun, you can't hide anything from me. Himitsu exclaimed gleefully. Oh, you sweetheart. I hate lying to you. I feel so bad. She has such an innocent face, and I love her, but god damn it. I just look at her face, and I'm like, I am fucking you over so badly right now, and I hate it. And it seemed like a very inappropriate reaction to me. If you really wanted someone else to talk to Kari-chan, you could have asked me. But I had witnessed them talking to each other just a few days ago. I couldn't say it sounded anything like a conversation between friends who hadn't seen each other in a while. Don't you think it would be a bit inappropriate to ask you to talk with Catherine? And, well, talk about what? Well, what did you ask Iwamoto-senpai to talk with her about? What did I ask Iwamoto-senpai to talk with her about? I slowly repeated, drawing out each word, as if hoping to find the time to come up with a decent answer. Nico-kun? Himitsu frowned and came closer. I instinctively moved back and looked aside. Well, you know, Catherine doesn't want to talk to me, and Kagome isn't someone she knows, or at least not someone she's had a fight with yet. I was positive it would take only a couple of minutes if they ever got to know each other. That's not an answer. What did you want them to talk about? Is this an interrogation or something? You'll have something later. For now, answer the question, please. She tried to soften her tone, but somehow that made me even angrier. I'm not obligated to report to you what I talk about and with who. Even if I was trying to protect her, that sounded cruel. I felt like I was the captain of an old ship caught in a storm. I was doing my best spinning the wheel, but my small craft just couldn't hold out against the wrath of the raging waves. Sunshine, I don't want to upset you, but there are things, serious things, dangerous things. This isn't the time to talk about them. Dangerous things? Nico-kun, what have you gotten yourself into? I haven't gotten myself into anything. Can you just believe me that everything's going to be alright? But I can't tell you the details right now. It just has to be like this. Nico-kun. Himitsu was fidgeting in her chair, clearly nervous. I suddenly felt hot, so I jumped off the chair and walked to the garden door and opened it. So you and Iwamoto-senpai weren't talking about Kari-chan? I didn't know what to say. Just a minute ago it had seemed like a nice idea, but now the entire lie had come apart ahead of its time. Nico-kun? What? I turned around and looked at Himitsu. No, not the face. Don't look at me like that. Don't do it. I can't handle it. No, sweetie, no, stop. You're making me feel like shit. No. God damn it, every time I look at the screen, it's just, my heart. No. Sweetheart, no, please. You're so soft and sweet and innocent. Don't look at me like that. I'm not a monster, I swear. She was about to break into tears. Dear God, no. I can't tell you more. You shouldn't know more. As soon as I can.
Are you in danger?
No, of course not.
Then why? Why all these mysteries? I want to help.
There's nothing you can do to help me.
Then I better go.
She stood up and slowly walked out. I kept looking out at the moonlight-filled garden.
Fuck.
I didn't know if I had done the right thing by hiding the truth from Himitsu. One thing was for sure, she wouldn't be able to help me in any way. Things would have gotten much more tense. There would be crying, whining, interrogations, although things could also go completely differently. For now, I was alone with my problems, and only had Kagome to talk to, and I was hiding a lot from her as well. And all these conversations weren't making me any calmer. Besides, Himitsu didn't even make dinner. At times, I noticed with some annoyance that hunger came at the least appropriate moments. When you need to sit and think things through calmly to concentrate on the problem, your stomach starts demanding attention that it desperately needed elsewhere. Feeling like Diogenes rudely thrown out of his barrel, I opened the fridge in search of something to make dinner with. When a person is hungry, they often want to eat not a salad nor an apple, but a very specific set of products. Fatty, sweet, salty ones, and their derivatives. That's just how we have evolved. But if you just stuff yourself with enough bread, you'll also eventually get full. I've always been annoyed by the unfortunate fairness of it, the difference between how you feel before, an acute desire to experience all the wonders of the culinary world, and after, indifference to food, and sometimes even pain from overeating. I was not a talented cook, wasn't even at the level of your average housewife. My fridge and shelves, like fighters on the home front, were unprepared for a culinary battle with an unknown enemy. In the end, I had to find satisfaction in instant noodles. I was idly poking the cold noodles around with my chopsticks when, for who knows what reason, the ring of a doorbell broke the silence in my house. The end of my clock was about to hit 12. Too late for any guests. But the thought that the KGB or the corporation's goons don't give any warning before their visits somewhat calmed me down. Catherine? The fuck are you doing here? And indeed, the person staying in that doorstep was Catherine. What a pleasant surprise, I said and looked at the street past her shoulder. There was no one out there. You don't particularly look excited. Katya was shifting from one foot to another. Of course, she hadn't come for a cup of bedtime tea and an exchange of school gossip. I just wasn't expecting you. Wasn't expecting anyone so late. Shall I leave? She asked impatiently, not hiding her irritation. No, I'm sorry. Please, come in. Having entered the kitchen, Catherine carefully looked around, as if it was a museum. It's like nothing's changed here. What were you expecting? Me? Nothing. She turned around, glanced at me, and smiled. I take it you wanted to talk at school. I didn't know how to respond. Sometimes it was surprising how sharp she was. Sometimes it was scary. But then you found something more important to do? With our class representative? She added, saying the last words with particular disgust. Are you spying on me? Yeah, can't I? Katya replied without a sign of embarrassment. I am flattered. It was starting to seem like the conversation was going the wrong way, as if I'd been ripped out of reality and wasn't subject to the laws of nature anymore. At that moment, I had more urgent, more important, even essential matters to deal with. And Catherine was flirting with me like the year and a half we had spent apart never happened. I still understand what you're trying to get at. Do I need a reason to come here? Maybe you do, I said quietly. Himitsu doesn't. I was thinking of Katya and couldn't figure out what was on her mind. On the one hand, of course, I was happy she came, and of her own accord, too. But on the other, she was clearly here for a reason. Himitsu didn't disappear from my life for years. Is that resentment I hear? Yes, that's exactly it. The words rolled off my tongue by themselves, paying no attention to my brain. Part of me desperately wanted to just jump at Catherine, kiss her, take her to the floor next to the katatsu. But another voice was quietly yet persistently whispering that she was a very different person from the one I used to know and love. Outwardly, Katya had barely changed after all this time. For some reason, I had the unshakable feeling that I had let a stranger in. Well, apparently I'm not welcome here. She turned around and was about to leave, but I grabbed her by the hand. Wait, I don't want to offend you, but you must know how this looks from my perspective. You leave without even saying goodbye, then you come back and don't want to talk. Now you're here, acting as if nothing's happened. How do you think I'm supposed to react? Catherine gave it a moment's thought, then sat on a chair and fixed her hair with an elegant gesture. I guess you're right. I just didn't know how to start a conversation or how to act. Although, to be honest, she didn't look particularly perplexed. Conversation about what? A week ago, you found a note on your porch. A note? I said slowly. So you were the one who wrote it? What about the handwriting? What handwriting? Catherine was finally surprised. In your notebook. I flipped through your notebook during break when no one else could see. You're sure that was my notebook? What? I borrowed one from a classmate to copy the material. Oh, so... I exhaled and powerlessly sank to the chair opposite from her. Katya, but why? I wanted to warn you, but apparently you don't need my warnings. And you know well enough how and who you should talk with. But why? Why not just tell me directly? Well, I am telling you now. And how is it helping? I shouldn't have come here in the first place. No, you've started, so be so kind as to finish. Who is after me? What do you know about my father's work? Ah, so now you're interested. She flashed her eyes and leaned towards me. Katya, what is this childish resentment? If you know something, please tell me. I suddenly felt terribly uncomfortable about how close we were. Her face was only half a meter away from mine. Sure. She moved away abruptly, crossed her arms over her chest, crossed her legs. The very first day we returned to Japan, I overheard my mom's conversation on the phone. She was talking about you and your parents. And the conversation wasn't a calm one. It's obvious you're in danger. And that's it? I smirked impotently. What else do you want to hear? That's all you can tell me. You even bother to ask your mother what's going on? I talked to her. She asked me to stay out of it and told me it had nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with you. I exhaled. You know what? I agree with her on that. It really doesn't concern you. And you've demonstrated your attitude by planting a note. A fucking note with a bunch of mistakes, Katya. Don't shout at me. What were you expecting after that? I suddenly caught myself. Wasn't this why Catherine couldn't bring herself to come to my place and talk to me openly? Because she was expecting this kind of reaction? Sorry, I didn't want to shout at you. That's the problem. What? You act first and think later. A second ago, I'd intended to be more reserved, but Catherine managed to kill that intention with a single sentence. And you? Do you think much before you act? I wonder how many hours it took you to decide to ditch me without even saying goodbye. Her face finally trembled and Katya looked like she was about to cry. I sent a letter. That's enough. What else could I do? It has everything. Ah, the letter. I jumped up and marched to my room. Here, take it and sign here. I returned with the unopened letter and threw it at Catherine. The recipient turned out to be unavailable. So you haven't even read it? As you can see. Is that so? Suddenly her face broke into a little smile. Her reaction appeared pretty strange to me, but I was too angry to pay closer attention to it. Yes, it is. Okay then. She stood up and straightened out her skirt with a careful motion. Nothing else you want to say? I've said enough. Everything I know. If I learn anything else, I'll tell you. You can find the front door yourself. Good night. She bid me farewell in an inappropriately polite tone. Jesus. When the door closed behind Katya, I dropped to the chair like a sack of potatoes. It was too much for one day. Exhausted, I barely reached the bed and fell onto it without taking my clothes off. Yeah, I've been there. Definitely not your exact position you're in life, my guy, but I've been to the point where you lay down and just fucking done. All right. So now I'm curious as to what's in the letter then, because clearly that's a major point, right? Clearly that's a big thing. Clearly there's something in that letter that. I'm guessing if I go down Catherine's route, we see what's in the letter, maybe. I don't know. But I am going to end this recording session for here. I'm going to end this recording session here for today. Wow, my brain is fucking jumbled. Holy shit. I'm loving this. It's not the big twist. That's the thing. It's not as big of an outlandish twist as Everlasting Summer had. At least not yet. Who knows where they'll go with it. But I do like, that's the thing. These kind of stories I like. It's a romance story, but there's something more to it. It's not just like a nice little romance story. Like, this one, it doesn't have like the extreme shift that like, the Muv Love Extra to Unlimited shift, or, the shift in Song of Memories. Shifts like those where it's like, it goes from like cutesy romance story to something very extreme. And this one, it's like, it's still like overall this nice little romance story, but now it's like this like government conspiracy type thing. Not even government, but like this big, well, I mean technically government, because fuck, the KGB's involved, so that's Russian intelligence. I mean government kinda, yeah, but it's not like a big extreme thing, you know, like in the Muv-Luv case it's alternate dimensions and aliens and mechs. In Song of Memories case it's these mutated monsters and like Power Ranger Vocaloids, crazy shit. Whereas this one's like, it's a bit of a darker romance story, but it's still kind of grounded in reality a bit. And even like the twist in Everlasting Summer, I'm not going to spoil that one because that one is free. You can go play that yourself. But yeah, like I said, I am going to end this one here for now. So it's either going to be a jump cut or a new video, but I will see y'all in the next recording session. Until then, peace.